What's up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today with another video about Sunlit Showdown. And today we want to talk about how you can actually get to place 1, which tips and tricks there are that you can use to get the little bit of extra points that your allies or enemies on your server, depending on, might not have. And today I played until I reached place 1. You can see 811k points, pretty solid overall. There is definitely a bit more possible than I have right here, but still, nonetheless, I think that is fairly decent, and I definitely have some tips and tricks that I can show you guys that will help you get more points. That much I can promise you. So, starting off, of course, we already discussed yesterday that one of the main things you really want to do is you want to make sure you farm Sunlit, and for that you want to have the meta heroes. For that, I encourage you to check out yesterday's video that we made about Sunlit Showdown. There you will find all the info about heroes. There has been some new things that were made by Bulgur over on Neapala, and they are working on a list with all of the fights for Sunlit and how you can counter them. And I will link that down for you so you have the optimal heroes already. Next thing we want to cover though, before we get into some fights and into some other specific things, is we want to take a look at the tasks. And while the first part of the tasks is important, you should log in today and you should participate in battles so you get your limited Sunlit passes, which allow you to challenge Sunlit Showdown, get points, and ultimately also get the loot from the event. There are also two more tabs. There is the battle and there is the extreme tab. And while many of the tasks in here are ultimately easy to do, obtain a specific battle supply, that is a little bit RNG, but you get the battle supply by defeating enemies. Thus, you will probably at one point get this specific battle supply. And you can see all of those, they feature points. Getting the stun grenade, 6,000 points, flash elixir, 6,000 points, dagger of agony. So there are a ton of those challenges that you will complete on the site. But some of those you won't necessarily complete on the site. So if you're too inactive, for example, you won't get enough Sunlit passes. And one thing that I personally made a mistake, I have to say, I am way too hesitant with using battle supply. Battle supply, of course, are our consumables that we have in the fight, like the health potions, all of that. I'm way too hesitant with that. You can use those without fear. You can use 1 or 2 every single fight. That will work out. You drop them enough. And personally, I have to say, I often find myself towards the end of the battle with having like 5, 6, 7 consumables in my bag that are just lost. So using them a bit more often, like if you drop an knife, just put it on an enemy and stuff like that. That can really help you progress this task. And this task will give you 20,000 points. Some of those quests are crazy. Look at that. Challenger Showdown, 50,000 points, battle supply 20,000 points, and thus this can really make a difference. This can really lift you up a few levels. Let's take a look at the rankings. For example, what long way 20,000 points would go. This guy would just straight up go to place 3. So look at that. Look at the distance here. If you had 20,000 points more, that could really lift you up in an entirely different level. Same here. So that is something that I definitely recommend. The next thing, and that is probably one of the biggest things people are working on at the moment, and that I myself am still progressing because I didn't do this in the first day, use 35 different heroes to clear Sunlit Showdown. And the way you want to do this is you start a battle of Sunlit Showdown, you check out for an enemy team that allows you to use one of the weaker heroes, and then you go ahead and use those. And though you can see the heroes that you already used in the fight over here. So those are all the heroes that I've already used. Have to say, I would have liked if they grayed out the heroes that I didn't use yet, so I would have a better time seeing them. But still, nonetheless, you can see all the heroes that you used here. Maybe make yourself your own list or something with all the heroes and just cross them out when you use them, or keep it in your own head. I don't know. But for some of those heroes, it's easier to use them. For some, it's a bit more difficult. And one of the biggest risks that you can encounter with heroes like this can be running out of time. For example, I thought this was a great team to fight and use some of my heroes. It features Callan in the first lot, it has Igor, and I thought with Florabelle I have a hero that can deal a very decent amount of damage. Turns out, my problem was that Florabelle actually doesn't do enough damage to take care of this Callan, and neither does the Callan do enough damage to take care of the Florabelle, which ends up with me starting to lose time. And you can see over here times going down, and this fight just ends with me losing to not having enough time. Then the combat intensifies. You saw this mechanic. That is the mechanic that after a certain amount of time has passed, I think it was 30 seconds, just starts draining HP rapidly on both heroes, on the enemy and your heroes, and then decides basically the winner of the fight like this, which Floorball wins. Usually not in this situation, but we end up, look at that, 20 seconds now, and then you lose. So this can be a very, very big problem. And there is a solution for that. Either you make sure you fight against enemies that can actually beat your units, and then you follow a strategy that I have used on multiple attempts, where you, for example, do something like this. This was the fight where I used Cessia. We have some Mauler enemies here. And the way I did this was I just started off with Cessia, who did reasonably well, by the way, the Cessia skin on here. I bought this at some point, that must be. It's a Cessia skin. It's a little bit of a demonstration on top of that. And she was able to take care of a good amount of HP on Brutus, but we have fairly powerful enemies here, so this Brutus also does take care of her fairly quickly. Then we have Whalen coming in. Whalen, not too bad, not really a hero you necessarily want to use, but he loses the fight against Shark here, and the timing works out in the end so that my Athalia can clear off the rest. So I have Athalia in those situations here. I really wasn't sure. I thought like, okay, my two heroes would probably be able to take care of the enemies mostly, but then the time will be low, so I used Athalia because Athalia is really quick at getting kills on the enemies. So this is how I got like two heroes in there. Usually the safest thing that you can do is just go for one hero. But here's another example of like this rescue net strategy that I employed, like having two decent heroes I have here with like another hero that can take care of the rest of the enemies. And in this, really, the time is the essential thing. One thing that you can use though, usually later on within your rounds, there is one collectible that you can get. There are actually two. Number one is this one. No, it's not this one, wait. It's this one. This one will increase the all damage dealt of your heroes or the allies damage dealt by 80%, make them invincible for 6 seconds, but afterwards instantly defeats them. And this can be used if you have like a very tanky hero that you want to put in the fight, and if you kept him there, would otherwise result in a loss for you because this hero couldn't be killed by the enemy, couldn't kill the enemy either. So this is one option, and this is the other ally swaps, where you can swap the ally that is currently in battle for a standby ally. And this allows you to use specific heroes that are just very, very tanky. Examples of this can be multiple healers, can also be, and that is a very notorious one, that I myself, I just still have to use, but I talked to Puzzle on the Discord and he said, yeah, that this hero was also a problem for him. And the hero that I'm talking about is probably the tankiest hero in the game. It is Callan. If you have Callan on the field, it is rather unlikely that the enemy is able to take care of him unless you have something there like maybe a Cryonaya or something. But against such enemy teams, you're obviously maybe a bit worried that they might defeat your team, and in those situations it becomes tough to use such a unit. What you also have to be careful of is enemies, for example, a Wraec on slot 1. If you then put them some hero there that is essentially food, this might result in them getting stats and thus you having a tougher time. Lastly, there are some more interactions that are currently discussed and that we discussed yesterday. First, we have this one. This one was the Rainier combination, and the question that is still in the room is like, how do those heroes that are on standby interact with heroes that currently enter the battle? And the first thing that we saw there is that if you place a Rainier either on slot 2 or 3, that you get the circle under, in this case, Walker, and you get the teleport animation. You don't really get the teleport, I think, and somehow there is heal here. So there are some interactions between standby allies and allies that are currently fighting. By the way, Walker here winning against Wraec, which I thought was pretty cool. We have the enhanced force on him, but still quite remarkable that he's able to clear this stage on his own with just Walker. Those units seem to be a little bit weak though. But you can see how he's healing all the time, and then at the end we see a heal is actually attributed to Rainier, so this is fairly fancy. While other heroes that we also tried and that we talked about yesterday, like Faramore, you see the circle on the Walker when you place them, but you don't actually get the buff apparently at the end, because the hero that then goes into the battle doesn't seem to have an attack buff, which would otherwise have if we had the Faramore buff really. So that is something else that that is definitely very interesting. There's one more interaction I noticed though, and I want to show this in this video. And that is this one actually. I wanted to use Hugin here, and you can see my crown Hugin over there. And he did something which I thought was very, very fancy. So you have Hugin here on his anvil, quite normal. And then he starts doing his ult, and look at that. He's shielding the Natsu, who's the next one to fight. And I thought, okay, maybe this is just visual. The HP bar does pop up, but I mean, might just disappear later on. But it's still rather fancy how much that really does. Also quite interesting because of the HP loss ratio. Hugin was actually nearly able to defeat that Cryonaya. And you can see Natsu does indeed start with the shield, even though I mean it does have a duration, so at one point the shield just vanishes. But he does start with the shield, and that can be a very valuable skill actually for many heroes, not specifically for Natsu, but if you take into account that you could possibly use a Chimera there and have Chimera have a big shield, that could be very interesting. Or you could use it on Cryonaya. Because we haven't really shown that yet, but there are multiple bosses in this as well. And I wanna give those last minutes of this video, I wanna give to the bosses, because I've now encountered multiple of them, and there are some strategies that you can use to defeat them. So my most common strategy really against bosses is using Cryonaya. I know this is probably not the thing that most of you guys wanted to hear, even though like your heroes get enhanced here. So if you have a copy of her, I think you should get her at Supreme Plus. Maybe this will already work. Usually what happens is if you use Cryonaya, she can take care of most bosses. I think the one that I struggled the most with, or that she struggled the most with, was like the Bandit King. Once she is in the ult, she's safe. She has the big shield and everything. You can see how she drains the enemy. If you have like an energy potion, that can make it even easier. The bandit one, that was a little bit of a struggle. So here's that fight. Again, I tried it with the Cryonaya. The problem is this guy actually has a pretty big heal and also summoning ability, which Cryonaya really didn't like. And I waited it out here because his damage isn't all too high, but there you can see he summons the allies. Cryonaya gets to take care of them because they are summoned into her ice dimension. But then you get the next ones, then he quickly starts dealing damage. And we nearly got him there. Happy enough I was that Valka was able to take care of her. He has one time heal back to full once going on under 50% of HP. But yeah, so there is a little bit of a risk. One option that you can use instead of Cryonaya that I've also discussed on the Discord, and Aus was really happy about this, or was using this, is using Chimera. Chimera in general seems like one of the most potent heroes in this entire game mode, I think. And here we just have one fight. I have multiple fights here. Chimera just going in there. And by the way, the Iron is not Mythic Plus, by the way. Just saying, he won't do an ult. But you can see how much damage she can do with the wonderful new skin here as well. And she can basically take care of any single stage. I don't think there is one that she can't clear. She's just super powerful overall. So Chimera, an absolute monster in this game mode, I would say. So yeah, this is overall is the meta that you can use in this. Those are like the tasks that you will have for the next days. It's just like trying to find opportunities to use certain heroes in this game mode. And at the same time, you want to also make sure you use consumables. In my opinion, Death Vice already was a waste. I could have just used the knife there. That would have been very, very good. And then just keep an eye out for another work of Bulgur. I think we are going to see more teams in there. Try to get as far as you can within the tasks, and this should yield you a pretty nice ranking overall. I think many people that are in here didn't realize really that they have those tasks here, and that the difference between the people is not only the quality of your clears that you do, which is certainly also integral to getting like on the highest rankings, but also on top of that, completing those challenges and using battle supplies. I myself found myself a little bit hesitant to even use battle supplies because I thought that it would have a negative impact on the points, which I don't think it has. So those are just like the tips that I wanted to give you for this next day. I thought it was like very relevant that we do this video quickly after the next one, so that you have the maximum amount of time, if you follow this channel, to actually make use of those strategies, to employ them and kind of get the most points that you can. Also, one more word. I want to recommend Lootbar to you guys. Lootbar supports us here on the channel and is the best source and the cheapest source of dragon crystals that you can find. So if you want to go for some stellar crystal pop-up packs or something, those packs that we have right now, you can get very, very cheap dragon crystals on Lootbar. I personally go through the lock-in top-up, which offers the best rates for the dragon crystals. And if you register through the link in the description right now, you get a 12% and an 8% discount coupon, making your dragon crystals even cheaper. So definitely recommend doing that. Other than that, let me know down in the comments how well you've done in Sunlit Showdown so far. Do you like the game mode? Personally, my opinion is that it's one of the best events that I have done so far. It's really, really interesting, really in-depth. Don't know if it will hold up through multiple seasons, but it's a really nice one, and I hope I get one of the wonderful titles that they have in here, which are probably once again going to be limited for 14 days. So yeah, we'll see about that. With that, I wish you a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.